first started scaling companies, I thought that the only way to get more sales was to spend more money on leads. And I could not have been more wrong. And after working with over 200 companies on their sales operations and generating them over $300 million in revenue in the tax, in the info product industry, in the B2B service industries, I finally figured out exactly what works and what's a waste of money as you're scaling. And so, to save you the struggles, in this video, I'm going to cover 4 key areas where most founders waste a lot of time and money as they're scaling their company that I really wish I'd known sooner. You can scale 10 times faster if you focus on the leaks, not just the leads. So what do I mean by that? And before everyone jumps at me in the comments, I'm not saying that your lead volume and your leads are not important. That's not the case at all. What I am saying is that at every stage in your funnel, there are leaks. And no matter what, no matter how dialed in your funnel is, there will always be leaks at every stage in the funnel. And so as a founder or a, sales manager, CMO, whatever your position is while you're watching this, the more that you can plug those leaks, specifically the ones that have the most outsized returns when you do fix them, the better results you're going to get. And then when you put more fuel into the campaign and you do put more leads to the campaign, the returns will be exponentially higher than what you would have had prior with those leaks in place. So how do you actually go about plugging leaks within the front end of your business and your funnels? What I like to do is I like to have a few key variables that I track on like a stoplight report or a Google sheet, just something where I can see it week over week and I could highlight if it's green, yellow, or red, whether I'm above target, at on pace, or below target. Just a few key variables, because if you overdo it, then you have too many numbers that you're looking at. It's too hard to make decisions quickly. That's what I do. I get a few key variables and I look at it every single week so that I can decide which one am I going to work on impacting the most. So in my case, I'll typically look at cost per book call, specifically if I'm running a booked call campaign. In this case, if it's a lead magnet or maybe like a webinar campaign, this might differ, but let's talk specifically for a book call campaign. That's what we run across the majority of our, the businesses and the companies that we're building sales teams for. So I like to look at the cost per book call. I like to look at the cash collected per booked call. I like to look at the close rate on booked calls. And I like to look at the show rate. Those 4 KPIs, I would put those in my stoplight report and I would look at them every single week. And if I was on target, I would put green. If I was just on pace or at risk, I would put yellow. And if I was below, I would put red. And I do that every single week. And so my job as the leader or the director or the founder, whatever your role is to look at these numbers every week and decide which one am I going to get the highest outsized returns by improving. So for example, my close rate might be 20% on booked calls, and I'm running a standard book call funnel. It might be 20%. Everyone on my team, let's say, is closing 20%. Even when I was closing, I would only close at 20%. So I know that to get a lift from 20% to 25% on 100 book calls, I get an extra 5 sales. That's great, but that 5% increase is going to be a very big lift. One, I've never done it before. No one on my team is doing it. I have no proof of it. So it's going to be a very big lift. Plus, you enter the black hole of listening to every single sales call and figuring out all the minute things that could create a higher close rate. Much more difficult, right? But on the same spreadsheet, your show rate might be 25%. Whereas, you know that there's competitors in the industry with an 80% show rate. You know that maybe when you were taking calls, you had a 60% show rate. You know that it's much more possible. So now all of a sudden, if I bring my show rate from 20 to 30% and I'm able to speak to that many more people and I hold the same close rate, I will get a much higher outsized return on my effort, on my work, than if I try to bring up the close rate. Okay, so hopefully everyone's tracking here, but the idea is that when you look at this stoplight every week and you look at your 4 important KPIs of your funnel every week, you're going to choose the one to work on that will have the highest leverage. In that example, it was the show rate, but it could be anything, right? Let's look at the close rate, for example. You got one closer that's closing at 40% on book calls. The rest of them are closing at 5%. Your show rate is 60% across the board. Now, 60% is good. It's not amazing, it's good. But I know that I will get much higher outsized returns if I could replicate the performance of somebody who's already doing it in my closing seat and get the rest of them from 5% to 40%, like, my other closers at. So you got to be able to make that decision as to what KPI you're going to focus on and do the math. And if you're not good at math, you got Claude as a resource or ChatGPT, pull up AI, send your numbers, and then just ask it, what's going to create the most outsized return if I give it a 5% lift or a 10% lift? And then in a lot of cases, you're gonna have to go back into your history and see, well, what have you been able to do in the past, right? So if you've had a higher close rate in the past, or if you had a higher show rate, or it's possible, then that might be the area that you wanna focus on the most. So now the key is, you've got these 4 KPIs that you're tracking, right? I gave some examples. You got these 4 KPIs that you're tracking. One of them comes up red every week, or 2 of them, or 3 of them, whatever it is, but you decide on one of them that you wanna work on. Now, each one of those KPIs, each one of those key performance indicators has multiple data points upstream that influence that number. So what I do is, you should have a dashboard of a sort, an automated dashboard that collects this data in an automated way. What I do is, if I'm working on, let's say, the show rate, I'm gonna look at, well, what are all the data points that downstream or upstream, one of those do, that affect the show rate. So let's name some. For example, I know speed to lead is going to heavily affect the show rate. How quickly I speak to someone. I know lag time per appointment. So how far out did they schedule their appointment? I know will affect the show rate. I know response rate on my confirmation SMS is going to affect the show rate. I know my watch rate on my thank you page video, right? Some of this might be a little too advanced. I do have an entire show rate video if it's something you're struggling with, but I'm just naming some examples. So I know these data points are going to affect my show rate. So if that's a number I'm gonna work on, I'm gonna grab all the important data points. I'm gonna make another scorecard. Okay, this might get a little confusing with multiple scorecards, but it's important. I'm gonna make another scorecard specifically and exclusively designed to improve my show rate. And I'm gonna map those data points on the scorecard. I'm gonna track them every week, and I'm gonna work on improving those data points, right? So maybe I know my watch time on my thank you page is terrible. Nobody's watching the thank you page. So how do I improve that? I improve the book a call process. I improve the VSL. I improve the thumbnail. I improve the copy on the thank you page. I make these changes, and then I track, is it actually improving it? Oh, it is, great. I know that my speed to lead is terrible, right? So now let's work on the speed to lead. My speed to lead is 2 hours. Every booking that comes through, every lead that comes through, takes me 2 hours to get to them, if at all. So I'm gonna lean on my team. I'm gonna put incentives in place. I'm gonna put bonuses in place. I'm gonna track it every single week. Okay, so again, the idea is, you find the leak. You find that one of the main KPIs within your funnel that's leaking, that will create the highest outsized returns if you solve for it. You map out the data points that influence that number, and then you start to solve for those individual data points. And that just continues to trickle downstream. And that's really the name of the game as you're scaling funnels. If you've got a big enough team, you could attack more at once. If you're just a one-man show, you might have to do one at a time. If you're a machine and you're working 20 hours a day, then you could attack 3, 4, 5 at a time and put all these attack vectors towards solving the same thing. You would be amazed at how quickly your KPIs will start to improve and will start to hold. And now when you start putting more leads into the system, when you start spending more money on ads, you're going to receive outsized returns as a result. And that's what truly will make your business scalable. And when you see people go from $500 a day in ad spend to $5,000 a day in ad spend within 6 months, and you're wondering, how did they scale so quickly? That is exactly how. A personal brand might be able to get you to $1 million a month, but it probably cannot keep you there. So this is especially prevalent for all my info product business owners that are watching this. And I know I have a lot of people that follow me in the info product industry, because that, as net revenue, is who we serve for a very long time. And some of our best case studies are bringing coaching businesses from 0 to $1 million a month consistently. Now, the hard truth here is that if you're relying on your personal brand for all of your customer acquisition, it may be able to get you to $1 million a month. And it has. In our case, we've actually helped, I believe, we've helped 9 businesses get to $1 million a month. And I believe 3 of those were off of their personal brands at the start. But the truth is, it will not keep you there. It won't. You have to treat your personal brand and your socials as a bucket of sand. And every time you make an ask to your audience, every time you send them a link, a book a call link, you tell them about a program, an offer, a lead magnet, you're opening up a hole at the bottom and you're letting sand leak out. Now, obviously, you're posting, right? So your following is growing, which is great. You're putting more sand in at the top. which is awesome. But what most people do, especially when you start doing the volume required to sell $1 million in a single month, is you're pulling way more sand out of the bottom of the bucket than you are replenishing at the top. And that's where most people get to. So you get a ton of momentum, a ton of growth, and you're flying high, you're at the top of the world, but you're selling more than you are growing your brand. And in which case you saturate your audience. And this, you've probably heard this term before, your audience is saturated, or you've pitched your audience too much, you've dried them out. That's what they're all referring to, okay? Is that it's not that you really saturated your audience, you just didn't grow it fast enough. The reality is there's not really, unless you're running ads to your account, then that's your strategy, is just an organic strategy where you run ads to follow, you run follower ads, or you run DM campaigns. You will likely not be able to grow your following as fast as you need to grow it to sustain $1 million a month at scale. I have not seen it done yet. If someone has, comment down below who it is, and I will eat my words, but I have not seen it done yet. I've seen it held for maximum 3 months. And then at a certain point, it starts to contract and you start to shrink. And then all of a sudden the founder's like, well, we need more customers. We need to keep up. We're at $1 million a month. I hired all these coaches. I've got all this payroll. Now I need $1 million. I need, 600K just to break even. So they've got this giant business they have to keep afloat, but they never built a really sustainable customer acquisition model other than just the followers that they banked on. So what happens, they start running ads, they start building these campaigns, but their offer was never built for people who didn't know who they were and who didn't, and who weren't fans of them. Their funnels were never built for cold traffic or for meta kind of ad traffic. They probably don't have a great marketing team, and they hire the first agency that they interviewed. And then what happens, they start spending all this money on customers. A lot of times their economics aren't even built to where they can afford the extra customer acquisition cost. And so they spend all these money trying to get customers in. Their margins start shrinking. They have maybe an $800,000, now they're 600K, 700K, but their margin is so small, they're like, well, fuck, why don't I just go back to 200K a month, contract the business and make the same amount of profit? And that's what happens time and time and time again. So my recommendation is, if you've got an amazing personal brand right now and it is floating your business and most of your customers are coming from your personal brand, that is amazing. Don't stop that. Just because you watch this, don't stop doing that. Continue to invest in your personal brand and continue to use that to prop up your company. But at the same time, start to build a customer acquisition engine that does not rely on warm followers to buy your product. So get a marketer, get a marketing team in place, build a campaign that's centered around turning people who are problem aware, they are solution aware, they might be solution aware, but they're not product aware yet. And figure out how to build a campaign that can bring them through those stages and close them, whether or not they know who you are as the founder. And do that earlier, while the hay is coming in, while you're closing, while the organic is pumping. It'll be much easier to build that earlier than later when everything's contracting and you're doing it out of fear of having to make all this payroll that you've accumulated because you've scaled the company. Another key thing here too is that a lot of people, you don't train your sales team to sell without using you as the main reason someone should buy. So if you've got a personal brand, listen to your sales team's calls. If they're referencing you a lot in the sales call as the founder, and they're using you as the main sales point, that's gonna be a problem right out the gate. So again, that's another thing that I would work on right away. I wouldn't wait till I need to work on that. I would work on that right away and start to shift and have your sales team leverage the community, the program, the service to start selling it. At a certain point, you have to go from, I am this founder and I have this, and you're gonna work with me and work with the founder, to this is my company and my company does these amazing things, and you get to work with the business and the people and the community and the resources. And when you start to make that shift, if you do it early on and your team does it from the beginning, when you start needing to go and get colder and colder traffic through the funnel, they're already used to closing in that way that works with cold leads. Or colder leads, right? Any lead that's coming through a meta form is not really a cold lead, but you get the idea. Also, real quick, if this is helpful for you, if you're watching this and this is helpful and I've helped you add anything, any nugget to your business in any respect, it would really help me out if you subscribed and you liked the video, so that one, you can get notified for new videos moving forward. I've got a lot of really cool stuff in the works that I'm going to be sharing with you guys as we scale our company to $100 million, and hopefully as we help you guys scale your businesses. So subscribe so you get notified and you get the new videos that are coming forward, and then obviously like and comment on the video so that it helps grow the channel. No single funnel can get you past $500,000 a month alone. Okay, so I admit this is a little bit of a blanket statement. Obviously, yes, a single funnel can do millions and millions and millions of dollars a month, but it can't do it alone. So here's what most people do. They build a really good funnel. Let's say you're starting out, you're doing $50,000 a month in sales. You build a really good funnel. It's getting all of your leads, right? Every single lead you get goes to this funnel. They watch a great video, they apply, they book a call, they get on the call, they close, and it's working. It's getting a good ROAS, it's converting at a high enough metric on the organic leads that you're super happy with it. So you're like, hey, let me start scaling this thing, right? And now the issue is that the only people who've gone through it have been maybe your followers, right? Or maybe people who are solution aware and maybe even product aware. They're the ones who have gone through it. But you've never really put people who were just problem aware through it, and they weren't really solution aware yet. You've never really gone to colder and colder traffic and put them through that funnel. So what happens is you've got this great funnel that worked, and you start spending, and it might work for a bit. It might get you 200K, 300K a month in sales, but then it gets to a point where when you're running ads, you stop hitting the warm audience, you stop hitting the solution aware people, and you have to branch out and you have to go get people who are just problem aware. And you have to spend a little bit more money to get them in a lot of cases, but you have to in order to continue to scale, right? Especially if you're at 500K a month, the amount of new customers every month that you have to be adding to your business at that revenue level, the amount of new booked calls, of new leads that you have to pull into your list and into your system every month, you have to continue to build that list. So what a lot of people do is they get to that point, they get to 500K a month, and their funnel stops returning a healthy ROAS. Their margins start contracting, their ROAS starts shrinking, and they're like, shit, this funnel doesn't work. It's not working at the level that I wanted it to work at. So they go and build something else, and then they send the traffic through there. And they're like, let me try this thing, let me try this webinar. And then that doesn't work. And they're like, oh, let me try this thing. And then that doesn't work. When in reality, the funnel worked. It just worked for the right person at the right time. And so it's not always about getting a new funnel to get a different person at a different time or to try to convert more of those right people. Sometimes you just need to get more leads of the people that are just at the stage before, right? They're the right person, but maybe not the right time. And you need to give them some sort of resource, lead magnet, tool, education, and make it the right time and force them into the next stage so that now they can go through that funnel that's working and then convert. Okay, so really good example of this. You've got this VSL funnel. It starts capping out. Your costs are all going up. Your ROAS is shrinking. So instead of building something completely new and trying to do book of calls from that thing, maybe like a webinar, you do the webinar, you still build the webinar, but instead of sending them to book a call right away, you turn it into like a free training and you just get them on the VSL after that. So a really good example of this, one of our clients, they do self-storage investing. They've got an amazing VSL funnel. And that VSL funnel took us to about $400,000 a month in sales consistently through paid, through organic, through pretty much everything, every area that we were sending traffic, we were sending it to that VSL funnel. But then exactly as I described, we got to that 400K and everything started contracting. The close rates started getting lower, the show rates started getting lower, the ROAS was getting worse, the cost per book call was going up, everything was contracting because it happens at every stage. The wrong people now, or the right people, but at the wrong time, are getting forced through this funnel that's not right for them. So what we did, instead of building a completely new funnel, is we just built something earlier to get more of those right people. So in that case, we built a starter pack. Okay, so it's called the Self-Storage Income Starter Pack. And it was 6 resources that basically helped you understand if self-storage was the right investment vehicle for you, right? Because they were already problem aware. Like we knew we were going after problem aware people. They were aware of their problem, that they needed a better asset to invest in, but they weren't solution aware yet. So we created this starter pack to get them from problem aware to solution aware. And then at the end of the starter pack, we pitched them on the VSL. We got all those people from the starter pack to the VSL. We didn't get them to the calendar because now that VSL that was working, I got more of those right people that went through the starter pack to now go into the VSL. And now, all of a sudden, if I look at the metrics on just my starter pack, they're not very good, right? If I just look at my ROAS on just the starter pack, it's not very strong. But everything on the VSL started improving again because I'm getting people from the starter pack to it. Okay, so that's a really good example. So in most of our businesses, when they start scaling, when they're getting to above 300K, because we don't want to wait until we're at that 500K mark, but when we're getting to above 300K a month, we start building campaigns and we start building funnels around bringing people through each stage of awareness. Okay, so again, there's problem aware, there's solution aware, there's product aware, and then there's customer, right? So we start building these things to bring them through each stage and then targeting those people with ads to build our list. Okay, another way to call this is top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. You've probably heard people say that more recently. So you have things for top of funnel to build your list, right? Get more people in the list. These are usually people who are problem aware, but not solution aware. Then you have things that are middle of funnel. That's usually to bring them from solution aware to product aware. And then you have things that are bottom of funnel, and that's usually to bring them from product aware to customer. In our case, that's like a book call, right? Like them booking the call, that's as bottom funnel as you could get, right? The VSL is more middle, and then maybe the lead magnet, webinar, whatever is more top. You're building your list. So if you start switching your mindset to, I have to figure out how to make this campaign scalable, and you switch it to, I need to get more people, I need to get more net new people into my list every single month, you'll be able to get better results on the existing funnel. The real money is not in the first sale, but everything else that you are sending them to after. Okay, this is, as well as the last one, cannot be more true for info product owners, coaching businesses. I have yet to bring on a coaching company that had a really dialed in Ascension model. Whereas when you go look at like SaaS and you go look at service, for example, these billion-dollar companies, the majority of their profit, maybe not their revenue, but the majority of their profit every month is being generated from not the first sale, but from the second, the third, the fourth sale per customer. So why wouldn't me as a coaching business owner learn from those other tried and true industries and apply the same thing? The trap a lot of coaching businesses fall into is like, well, hey, I already taught them the thing. What else am I going to sell them? That's just not the case, okay? So this obviously applies for every industry. I only just narrowed in on coaching because they're the ones who really often do this very poorly. And it's something we've helped a lot of our businesses do and a lot of our clients do that has significantly scaled them on the back end. So the common term you'll hear for this is LTV, right? What is your LTV per customer? So step one is obviously start tracking it. Start tracking how much you earn per customer over their lifetime of being your customer. If you don't know how to track that, there's 1,000 videos of it online, and I'm sure AI knows it as well. So that's the first step. Once you start to track it, there's only a couple of ways you can increase your LTV per customer. Okay, the first one is obviously increasing your average order value on the first sale, which I won't cover here because it kind of defeats the whole purpose of this point. But obviously, if you just increase your prices on the first sale, or your sales team gets better at selling it at a higher price, or you stop doing payment plans, or you raise the price for payment plans so more people pay in full, a bunch of different things you can think of. If you raise that AOV, that will obviously increase your LTV. The other way is through continuation offers, okay? So especially for coaching, for example, or for services, if they finish your program, you always want to have some sort of continuation offer. What can they continue to consume from you? And then it might be monthly, it might be another paid in full. I really like doing monthly, especially if you're doing coaching. Have a time limit. Never sell it for life, ever. Have a time limit. Usually it can be shorter than you think, 3 to 6 months. And at the end of their 6 months, at the end of the 3 months, they can then pay monthly to stay in. So if the program is $6K for 6 months, and then you charge them $250 a month to stay in, they get 75% off. And then you would just be surprised at how many people continue. And have it auto bill. Put it in their contract. Have your sales team let them know, hey, at the end of the 6 months, you're going to get auto renewed at $250 a month. You can cancel anytime. You just let us know. And then they sign in their contract. And then you will have probably, if you got a good program, you should have anywhere from 30 to 60% of the people continue to bill at that $250 per month. Depending, this is a random example, but you get the idea. So that's a continuation offer. Sell them more of the same thing that they've already purchased. Just increase the time duration. The other way, the third way, right? So we increase our AOV. We've offered them continuation offers. The third way is what I like to call loop offers, okay? Or problem looping offers. So I've helped them solve one problem. Whatever they bought from me, I help them solve a problem. Now, whenever, you probably know this, whenever you solve one problem, usually there are other problems that arise as a result. So if you're a business owner, could not be more true, is that whenever you fix one thing, that opens up 3, 4, 5 other problems on the back end. So if you're a service or coaching and you're providing a solution, you have to just look at, well, what are now the other downstream problems that are going to arise, or bottlenecks or constraints that my customer or former customer will need help with that I can then provide. So a really good example is if you help people make money, the next thing you can help them with is how to save money on taxes. Really good example. We've got a customer, a client. We've got a customer that we sell funding, right? We help them sell funding. So he helps people get access to business funding. What is the next thing that people are going to need when they get access to all this business funding? They're going to need a place to spend it, So then his problem looping offer is investing opportunities, like real estate and Section 8 and things like that. So you can now take that funding that I helped you get in that first thing you paid me for, and I can put it into this next one. And if you do that well enough, and the first problem that you're solving is impactful enough, you can just continue to work through this. And you solve the next problem for them at X price, often a higher price. And then you solve the next problem for them at X price. And then you pack on a continuation offer onto that one so they can keep doing it. And then you package a mastermind into the back end because, well, hey, they made so many connections along the way. Now they want to do quarterly meetups with everyone who's in the higher level mastermind. And so doing this can completely transform how you go about acquiring new customers. Because if you need to get a 6x ROAS on front end, and that's the only way that you could run a remotely profitable business, especially in coaching, you will really, really struggle to scale beyond $10 million a year and stay there. There's a reason why so few businesses, especially coaching businesses, can sustain more than $1 million a month for just 1 or 2 months. That can sustain it for years. Camera died on me, but we are back. But what I was saying is, so if you have to rely on a 5 or 6x ROAS on the front end to scale a profitable business, you will have a very hard time sustaining $1 million, for example, or 2 million, whatever the number is. You'll have a hard time sustaining the growth that you've created. But if you've now created all of these Ascension on the back end and these continuation and these problem looping offers on the back end or products or services that you can continue to sell to the same customers you've already closed, and you increase your lifetime ROAS from like a 6x to now all of a sudden you're doing 9, 10 lifetime value to customer acquisition cost, 10 to 1, 11 to 1, 12 to 1, you're going to have a much stronger business as a result and much more sustainability at scale. And that's it. Thanks for sticking through the video. I hope this was valuable for everybody. This was basically the 4, probably, in my opinion, the most important areas where just so many founders waste their time as they're scaling their company, especially in the info product coaching industry. But if your machine is perfect and you've got a great business and great front end, but you're sending leads and you're sending sales calls to a sales team that is struggling to perform and struggling to close at a high enough rate to scale, then scaling will still be incredibly difficult. You can watch this video where I show you the 13 to 14 ways you can improve your sales team's sales calls and actually close more of the leads that you've already paid for.